And that's right, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to say a big welcome to another exciting edition of the program Ashford Garley live on British Radio Africa. We want to apologize for the low start. We had some technical problem. We've managed to have it fixed now. And let us show hope we're going to have a great time tonight. We have with us tonight Dr. Francis Nankata. He's the Chief Medical Officer of the Republic of Liberia. He's our special guest tonight. In Phase 1, Phase 2, we're going to play host to Anthony the Acid Jackson out of London. In the meantime, we're going to jump straight into this. We're going to bring in Letty Brooks Roberts now as she introduces our special guest. Mrs. Roberts, hello and welcome to the show.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Garley.
Good evening.
Good evening, and welcome to all to another exciting edition of Bridge Radio Africa, bridgetv.com, with your host, Ashford, the Giant Garley. And now to our introduction of our special guest. We have Dr. Kete. Dr. Francis Nankete is a native Liberian, born in Kaloke, Maryland County. He completed his elementary and junior high school at M.H. Gibson, Kaloke, where he matriculated to Our Lady of Fatima High School in Harper, Maryland County. He studied at the University of Liberia for 3 years before obtaining a scholarship through the United Methodist Church to McMurray College, Jacksonville, Illinois, USA, where he earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in biology. He furthered his studies at Spartan University School of Health Sciences, Vaux, St. Lucia, West Indies, and graduated with a Doctor of Medicine degree. After practicing during the civil crisis in Liberia at the Gunta United Methodist Hospital, where he served with distinction as Chief Medical Officer for 3 years. He returned to the United States and obtained a Master's of Health Administration at Governor State University, University Park, Illinois. He accepted a position as Public Health Director of Anson County Health Department, becoming the first African to serve in that position in the state of North Carolina from 2004 to his resignation in 2010. With his continuous passion to learn, Dr. Keter earned a degree in Homeland Security with an emphasis in public health, disaster preparedness with a subspecialty in biological weapons of mass destruction. At the University of Connecticut, becoming the only public health director in the state of North Carolina to have a degree in Homeland Security. He was most recently awarded an honorary Doctor of Public Service degree from his alma mater, McMurray College, based on his role in the cessation of the Ebola virus disease in Liberia. On July 24th, 2010, Dr. Keter yielded to the call to help in the rebuilding of the health sector in Liberia. He resigned his position in the United States of America and returned to begin the challenging job of providing leadership and build a team to manage and run the operations of the $10 million medical complex given by the People's Republic of China to the people of the Republic of Liberia through the instrumentality of Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, former president of the Republic of Liberia, which is called the Jackson F. Doe Memorial Regional Referral Hospital. His involvement in National Incident Management System during the Ebola virus disease. When the Ebola crisis erupted, Dr. Keter yielded to the call from the Minister of Health and Social Welfare to serve as a technical advisor to Margibi County in curbing the exponential rate of infection in the county. After a month of serving in the county and based on a debrief of Dr. Tom Frieden, former CDC director, with Her Excellency former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the then incident manager, Honorable Torbert Ninswa, asked to create a position as National Deputy Incident Manager for medical planning with an oversight responsibility on the technical areas of the national response. He is secretary with the development of the CCC Community Care Center strategy, BRIGHT, rapid isolation and treatment of Ebola strategy and other interventions. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest, Dr. Keter. Back to you, Mr. Garley. Dr. Francis Nan Keter.
Thank you for that splendid introduction. At this time, we'd like to say welcome to Dr. Keter. Dr. Keter, hello and welcome to British Radio Africa.
Thank you so much. It's an honor and privilege to be on this splendid station.
And I want to say a big thank you to you to be up this late at night. I know you have other important engagements for early tomorrow, but the fact that you honored our invitation, that's a good thing. I want to applaud you for that.
Thank you so much. As a servant, this is my responsibility to talk to our people when the need arises.
Okay, let us jump straight into a COVID-19. Bring us up to speed in Liberia, Dr. Keter.
Thank you so much. So as we stand as of yesterday, we have had 917 confirmed cases in Liberia. Now, where did we start? We started back when we had our first case in March of this year. And so when we started from March 12th up to the end of March, we had about 3 cases, and that was something that was managed very well. But prior to that, when we heard of the Wuhan situation, we decided that because there were a lot of Liberians that resided in China based on the relationship between China and Liberia, where you have a lot of Liberian students. And also you have commercial individuals that go to China all of the time. We knew that the possibility of COVID coming into Liberia was just a matter of time. In order to do that, we began a process of being very proactive. In the process of being proactive, Honor Dr. Musoka Fala, who is the Director General of the National Public Health Institute, we worked along with him and began to basically line list all of those that returned to Liberia. The process of line listing was basically knowing where these people were and then using our old system that was put in place, because we had a diverse contact tracing system and community engagement system that we had from Ebola, looking at the local structure. Predicated on that, we had people coming in and giving us their information. On about the 16th of March, something happened. We could not locate 35 Liberians that came and gave us false information. And so we decided that henceforth, anyone that arrived, we have to basically quarantine them. But the war quarantine was very difficult in Liberia because during the time of Ebola, through the process of quarantine, someone lost their life in West Point. And because we did not want a repeat of that, where you have community resistance, we decided to use a terminology called precautionary observation center, which in itself, and I define it because it was something that I coined. I define it as a negotiated quarantine. So basically what we did is that we took a person into a place where we fed them for the time of their quarantine and monitor them. And based on that, after that incubation period that we have them, they can now go back to their residence. And so we decided to deploy that process. On that day, there were about 35 Liberians returning from China. And so we took them into a precautionary observation center. And from there, that system was a system that we put in place where even if a person came with a sign and symptom, he or she is being monitored on a daily basis about 3 to 4 times a day. And if anyone had come up with a sign and symptoms, we can quickly isolate them, run a test, and then go on, because now you are breaking community transmission. So we started our process until we had someone who breached the system, and that led to the first case in Liberia. And when the system was breached, basically we had a community transmission, and that community transmission have led us to where we are today. So basically from day one, Liberia have been very proactive, understanding what transpired during the time of Ebola and using the Ebola experiences basically to prepare the country. So we engaged all of the stakeholders and the different platform and different services we used during the time of Ebola, enacted them. All of the counties had to be activated, and they were all in a preparedness phase. And when you are in preparedness phase is basically, improving your surveillance system, looking at places just in case if you have any case, where can you isolate this person quickly, and then working with the community structure to make sure that people are educated and guide them in the process of what is anticipated if anyone were to be positive. And so these are systems that we've built from the initiation of the virus, and today we continue to use different strategy based on the trend of the disease in the country.
Well, thank you, Dr. Carter. Let us backtrack a little bit to the first case that you mentioned in March. Mr. Nathaniel Blaman, former Director General of the Environmental Protection Agency, the PEA for short, was the first to be diagnosed with the coronavirus, COVID-19 in Liberia. He was tested and confirmed positive within few hours, and the result was announced to the public. Now, Dr. Carter, this happened during the time when COVID-19 test results in developed countries took more than 24 hours. We were also told that there was no laboratory at the time for the testing of COVID-19 in Liberia. How do you explain this?
That is not true. It's not factual. I mean, basically, when we were in our preparedness state, one of the key things that we did was working along with our partners, WHO, CDC, and so forth. So we were fortunate through the WHO mechanism. We got the primer. We got the primer for testing for COVID, and so that primer was basically sent to the National Reference Lab, and it was there. So as soon as the index case came in, within eight hours, we were able to basically come up with our first diagnosis.
Okay, some time ago we saw 2 or 3 boxes from Madagascar. Even though the World Health Organization warned that there was no evidence to show the effectiveness of this beverage, but it was still brought in the country. You care to comment on that, sir? And how it has been?
The thing here is that when a new disease comes about, the first thing people think about is how can you save your nation, especially when you are a leader. I mean, the situation in Liberia is not different from that of the United States, when the president of the United States decided that chloroquine was the magic bullet. And so when information emulated from Madagascar, I mean, a lot of African countries decided to support their own. And so instead of looking at chloroquine as the magic bullet, decided to use what have come from Madagascar and begin to use Africa's own course of treatment to see how they can save their people. And this is what led to the Madagascar supply coming to Liberia.
Now, given the surge of the number of coronavirus cases in Liberia, do you think it is wise at this time to reopen schooling in Liberia? If not, what would you recommend?
Basically, one of the things that have been done, and this is something that we have no control over. Liberia is part of the West African Examination Council. And so the examination will be given sometime in August. And because students have been, especially the 12th graders, have been out for a very long time, it became very, very important that these students go through the process of preparing themselves for the national exam. And therefore, based on certain SOPs that we worked along with the Ministry of Education, we were able to give them the go-ahead to open schools, taking into consideration all of the infection prevention control mechanism that is needed to safeguard the students and the professors.
Now, tell us about the numbers of ventilators we have in the country.
I mean, personally, we have at the 14 military hospital, we had about 6 ventilators that are there. But let me just indicate this, that based on studies, and even in the developed countries, we've realized that ventilators is not the magic bullet that people talked about. So almost 80% of those that are put on ventilator may die. And so ventilator is not. So there are other processes that we are. And for Liberia, we have been very, very, it has been very good for us, where most of our cases have not gone to critical state. There have been few that have gone to that state. And through the intervention and what we do in terms of our management here, they have become survivor. So we are very grateful. But just in case we need people that will need to be put on ventilators, we have an ICU at the 14 military hospital, and they can be put on ventilator.
Well, the Ebola response largely, in other words, was successful, and you were a part of the team. Congratulations. And
Thank you.
Dr. Ketet, void of politics and giving your knowledge, understanding, and experience, how does the healthcare delivery system under President Weah differ from that of Dr. President Weah?
I mean, there are two things we have to realize, and this is the reality. The thing here is that Ebola, there were a lot of resources because I participated, and as a matter of fact, the former president of the Republic of Liberia, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, asked me to go along with the team to the World Bank to talk to them and explain to them how critical it was. And predicated on that, Dr. James King was able to persuade others for the World Bank to contribute. And that brought, from what we've learned, close to almost $400 million into the health system. Now, if you look at personally, COVID, what COVID has done is that it has impacted those countries that will support our developing countries. So every country is going through its own. As we stand today, most of the funding that have come through to get us to where we are came from the government of Liberia. So in spite of the challenges the government has been contributing to the operation of containing COVID in Liberia. So basically, if we try to do comparing apple and orange, it becomes difficult because I was in one where the resources were pouring, where people, basically you have international partners. We have close to almost 50 different international NGOs in Liberia. And I can give you a typical example. One of them were this NGO is called Heart to Heart. And I told them their name was Heart to Stomach because they were giving about almost $1.2 million a month to run an ETU, that's an Ebola treatment unit, where you didn't have a single patient, but they were giving $1.2 million a month to run it. When the hospital, and that is the Jackson F. Hospital, that I was the CEO of at the time, could not, entire budget for the time was $2.8 million. And so they could not even see a suspected case in that ETU because they all were afraid. So in other words, there was so much money available during the time of Ebola because people wanted Ebola to stay in Africa and not go across the ocean. And so that was it. So this is why the pouring came in. But this time COVID started from the developed country and has brought many of our developed countries to their knees. And so it becomes very difficult. But all in all, we think there are two variation and two different times in terms of resources availability versus not much to work with.
Now, we want to go to our audience yet, and we have Mr. James Momo who has a question for you. He said, could you please ask the doctor to tell us the impact of the state of emergency to the prevention of coronavirus in Liberia?
Sure. Basically, I can give you a detail. So basically, at the initiation of COVID, when the state of emergency started at 3 o'clock, we saw that we were doing very well. And basically, when you have a virus, what you want to do is your confirmation rate should be less than 5%. So for example, every sample that you collect, so if you were to collect X amount of sample, the positivity from that sample should be probably less than 5%. Then you are in control of the virus. So during when we were at 3, there came a time where we were even as low as about 3.4, 3.5% of our confirmation. So basically, we were in charge of the virus. But one of the things that happened, and this is something that we see globally, where when people feel that they are in control, and the sad thing about this is the fact that majority of the cases that you may have are asymptomatic. So people persistent persistent disbelief of the fact that you have this disease put pressure on a lot of things. And basically, we changed from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And when we did that, the data also show that we start increment because all of the enforcement mechanism were being relaxed to some degree. And so all of the, we started to see an increment, and we quickly adjust our system. For example, when we were at 6 o'clock, I informed the Liberian public that, look, if you were to come after 6 o'clock, that would be a very good thing for us. What we would do is the fact that we are not going to penalize you, but if you're leaving from, let's take for instance, from Tinker Village and you are going towards Greater Monrovia, then of course you give us an opportunity where we can get your sample. And if we get your sample, we will determine whether you are positive or not. If you are positive, then of course that leads to isolation and preventing the people of Sinker from receiving you. But to do that, we started with ourselves. What we did under the leadership of Minister Jala was taking the entire incident management team to do a voluntary testing. And after we did our voluntary testing, we begin to encourage Liberians to do voluntary testing. And while going through that process, we saw the time was moved to 9 o'clock. And because when that was moved to 9 o'clock, we started seeing an exponential. So for example, when we were at 3 o'clock, and I have the data here, we're averaging about 45 cases per week. And so, but we're able to drop that down to 24 cases per week. And then we moved to 9, we came as low as about 25 cases per week. Then we went to 9 o'clock. When we went to 9 o'clock, what happens? We saw a doubling effect. So from 25, we went to 65 that week. And from 65, the following week, we went to 101 cases per week. And after that, the following week, we went to 155 cases. And so when the system has been brought back to 6 o'clock, we have now dropped, the first week we have dropped to 128, and the following week, we are now to 140 per week. So every time we have this adjustment in the system, we quickly look at what are some of the things we can do creatively and innovatively in order to make sure that we bring down our rate. And this is what we do continuously. So in short, yes, there have been some other positive or negative impact based on the changes in I won't say changes, but the flexibility in the SOE.
Well, I know this has been challenging to you and the rest of your team members. What do you make of folks who are in denial, who say today this is a hoax, there's no coronavirus in Liberia? As a matter of fact, take, for example, the Waterside market, the real life market. Folks are not observing social distancing. They're not wearing masks. So how do you respond to this?
I mean, this is some of the things that keeps us up every night. The fact that where you have electricity rate is very high, where you also have the fact that people are asymptomatic. You know, let me take you back to Ebola. When Ebola started, we had the same situation where people did not believe. People even came to the extent where they said they were being poisoned. People were putting mercury in their wear and so forth. How there was a ship on the ocean where they were basically harvesting the parts of human. And so because of that, people did not see. But the difference was that when Liberians started dying, then of course they started believing. I can give you an example of a situation that happened in Cape Mount, in a place called Jinewande, where every time we went there, the chief, the town would tell us there's no case here, no one is sick, and so forth. And when we leave, after a couple of days, we'll have 1 or 2 persons dying. And when they are tested, they are positive. This happened more than a month. And so one day, something happened. The chief of Jinewande, daughter, has cerebral malaria. And cerebral malaria, sometimes it causes convulsion. And so this little girl was conversing, and she bit her tongue, and there was blood. When the chief saw the blood, he quickly correlated Ebola to blood, went to the health center and told the healthcare workers and said, your patient, this time he did not say my daughter, he said, your patient is over there. They went over and got this girl, took her to Tottenham Bridge. She was tested. Fortunately, she did not have Ebola. She had cerebral malaria. She was treated. And after her treatment, she came back home. That changed the entire place. So the community now believe, yes, indeed, there is something called Ebola. What did the chief tell me? He said, Dr. Kete, every time you people came over, what we do whenever we hear the sound of the vehicle, the house that have so many patients, we sit before the house. And so when we tell you go and check the houses, the house that we are sitting before, there where we have all of the sick people. And so this was something that, people did. But the thing about Ebola also is that when you have Ebola, within 2 to 5 days, even without doing a test on you, I could see you and say, this person has Ebola. Because what happens is that it affects the nerve bird of the body. So those people can talk. If you call them on the telephone, they will talk to you nicely. But when you see them in person, basically they cannot carry their body weight. They will always either be lying down or lying against something and so forth. That will quickly tell you that this person could be a positive case. And this is why active case finding during the time of Ebola was very, very important. Unlike COVID, people are asymptomatic and so forth. So it becomes so difficult to change the perception of people. Even those that are educated, it becomes difficult to change their perception. The only thing we have to do is that talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and begin to educate our people. And we pray that we do not have a lot of mutation with this virus where it becomes more virulent, because when it becomes virulent, then of course we will be in trouble. We don't want to see the loss of so many lives in Liberia. Thank you.
Now, what do you make of the healthcare institutions in Liberia? Did we benefit from the experience of Ebola? Also, have we improved, advanced, or implemented the recommendations of best practices?
I mean, sure. What it is that the healthcare system in Liberia has always been challenged. The fact here is that you cannot run a healthcare services basically free bono. Health is not cheap. Health is very costly, and you all are aware of that. So if you run a healthcare service and say it is free, definitely when it's free, which means someone is paying for it. If you cannot no longer pay for it, it becomes a burden for the people. And so the reality here, and let me just give you an example. If you look at the budgetary allocation, through the ECOWAS agreement, every country needs to spend a minimum of 15% of her budget on health. Liberia is one of the countries that has been as close as 15%. Like the last budget that we had, Liberia was spending close to 14% of a total budget on health. But what did that account to? That accounted to almost $72+ million. Of that amount, $63 million came directly to the Ministry of Health in terms of allotment. Of that $63 million, the Ministry of Health got $46 million of that. Of the $46 million, the Ministry of Health expended $39 million on salary payment for healthcare workers. So if you look at that, you run the entire healthcare system on $7 million. $7 million for only the essential essential medicines for the country. If you do your tabulation, we need about $22 million to buy the full package of our essential medication. So if you have $7 million to run your healthcare system, you just think, Where are you going to put that? So basically, the health system has been challenged. And this is something that we have been communicating, working with legislators to say, look, we need to move towards cost recovery. Because in the absence of cost recovery, it becomes difficult. I am typical example. I can use my experience at Jackson F. Hospital as a typical example on how, if you effect a good cost recovery system, you can improve the health sector. You can provide quality care to your people. And so when I was at Tapeta Hospital, what did I do? The first thing I did was that when you came in, for children under 5 years of age, it was 0 for them. For pregnant women, based on your condition, it was 0. But if you were making something and so forth, basically you are charged $100 Liberian a day for staying at the hospital. If we did a cesarean section on you, you were charged $1,500 Liberian. And if you did not have the money, the cash, you could come in with plantain, you could come in with chicken, you could come in with something. Because what we did was that we used those to prepare meals for the patients and so forth. So whatever money we were to use to purchase those things in the market, we were using that as saving. This is how we ran the hospital. And so with the budgetary allocation to the hospital, when I was there, which was about $2.9 million, we were able to effectively provide quality care to the people of Liberia. And so if you look at it from where we are today, the healthcare system is challenged. So answering that question, does the healthcare services learn lessons from what transpired during Ebola? Yes, lessons have been learned. People have been trained. But training is one thing. Having the material to do what is anticipated is another thing. And so the healthcare system has been challenged.
Okay, we want to pause for a minute and go to the telephone line. Perhaps folks out there have questions for you. And of course, the telephone number to call is 248-979-1718. That's the number to call just in case you want to ask Dr. Ketet a question. Well, Dad, if you were asked to rate this government on handling of COVID-19, what would you say?
I would give the government about B plus.
And what's that?
The reason here is that because as the deputy over this response, we have established a system. So basically, what we have, we call that SPACO, Special Presidential Advisory Committee on COVID. So on a daily basis, the head of SPACO, and that is the president, is being briefed on what is happening, what the challenges are, and so forth. And Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday, we have a Zoom meeting where we discuss challenges and what is needed in order to turn things around. And when it comes to some of the challenges, financial challenges and other things, yes, the leadership is being briefed and the necessary things are put in place. And on looking at the challenges in the country, basically health is being prioritized in terms of dealing with what we have to. And so this is why I gave that grade.
Okay, again, the telephone number to call is 248-979-1718. The last 4 digits of your number, 6896. Tell us your name.
Yeah, this is Cyrus Bisney.
Welcome to the show.
Calling from New York. I thank you for the show and thank you to your guests for the brilliant presentation and representation. With the issue of precautionary quarantine, to me, that is good. You know, but the issue I have, the minister talked about the issue of shortage of resources. But we have, take for example, right beyond GSK or in GSK compound, you have TNIM, a dormitory that is not being used as a result of closure of school. So I would have thought that instead of spending money and giving it to business people or looking for a big hotel to put people there to quarantine them, I would have thought government quote, were under precautionary, observation, as the minister is saying. That's one thing. The second thing is that I do think also that the issue of information dissemination and training or getting the right people to be able to do the information dissemination or social mobilization probably have been something that probably the government has not been able to take into consideration. So take, for example, during the Ebola time, we work in the Leeward counties. We have people that were trained, though it is not the same disease, but more or less no difference, when it comes to the issue of Ebola or coronavirus.
Thank you.
So I thought that the Ministry of Health and NFA would have used some of these, systems that are already, people that are already on ground, instead of like giving it to the city authority to be able to recruit.
Thank you,
and
sir.
then some of the information that were taken around were not information, in line with Ministry of Health or the health system information.
Mr. Snell, thank you.
Hello.
Thank you, Mr. Snell. Thank you so much. Now, folks, when you call, if you're making a statement, can you please just make your statement under 2 minutes? If you have a question, just go straight into asking your question, because there are a lot of other folks that want to be a part of the conversation as well. And if you are in queue, please mute your phone when you are not talking. And Dot, I hope you have a little pad there to jot down the questions, because you will later on answer these questions. We have Tyler Cody on the line, calling from Philadelphia. Hello, Tyler. Welcome to the show.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, so moving forward, what is it that our people in Liberia can do to further stop the spread of the coronavirus, and how is the situation being handled by the healthcare workers in Liberia at the moment?
Thank you. Okay, we have Mr. Pierre on the line. Hello, Mr. Pierre. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, Garley, how are you?
Good. I'm doing well.
Yeah, okay. Dr. Kete, I know that during the Ebola crisis, you were one of the individuals you depended on. The team as a whole did an excellent job in defeating Ebola. But I'm not a health practitioner. But Ebola, it was said that before it gets transmitted to another person, the one carrying the virus will have to be very sick. But even under that situation, as a government, we took the decision to close down schools and all of that. You, the medical people, have said corona can be transmitted asymptomatically. But yet, medically, you folks are advising that it's good for people to go back to school. I listened to Tobo Nyeswa yesterday when he said, and he worked with you, when he said, if the corona situation in Liberia reaches 1,000, it will be a catastrophe. I saw your latest update, and it's over 900 plus, pretty close to the 1,000 that he spoke about. Do you have a different view to what Tobo expressed? And do you believe that it is the proper thing scientifically and medically to do by opening schools, opening airports, and all of these things for a disease that is asymptomatic? That's my concern.
Thank you, Mr. Pierre. We have 0669. Tell us your name.
Yeah, my name is Jerome, calling from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Welcome to the show.
I'm here for only 1 second. I got a question for the doctor over there. I've been hearing they say they got a lot of drugstore and clinics in the country, and I don't know if that is good for the poor people or for the Liberian people. Is this why the hospitals are not being focused on by the government because of the drugstore all over the place?
Okay, thank you. We'll now go back to Dr. Kete to answer these questions. Dot?
Okay, thank you so much, and I'm glad I've heard some familiar voices that I know very well. So let me address the first question regarding Sarah Snell. And Sarah Snell was the CHDD in Maryland County, so he understands what transpired during the time of Ebola. So Cyrus, with regards to TNIMA, TNIMA, basically, you do not have many persons there. The building is dilapidated. So when we started the Precautionary Observation Center, which I did talk about in my opening, it was because we were caught on a major situation where we're expecting 35 persons coming into the country, and we could not account for 35 that have already come. So we immediately went into this. But that was not a long-term solution. It was just a quick solution to deal with the crisis that we had at the time. The long-term goal was working along with the government to renovate Star Base. Star Base is just on the island where you have the free zone. And so this building now has been renovated. As a matter of fact, it has over 100 and more than 130 rooms, and each of these rooms are self-contained. So personally, we are using Starbase, which is owned by the government, to quarantine people. So yes, indeed, we know that getting into these commercial negotiation was very costly, and this is something that was being paid by the government. So we quickly had to make the necessary adjustment. In terms of health workers, basically, we are having some of the issues. And one of the key things is that when some of the health workers themselves do not want to agree that there is this disease called COVID, then it also becomes a problem. As a matter of fact, as Chief Medical Officer of the country, I have sent out 2 days ago, on Monday, I sent out a communication to all of the county health officers and medical directors that if you are a health worker and you are in active contact to a confirmed case and you refused to follow all of the necessary health protocols, definitely we are going to suspend your license and we're going to take some other actions against you. And so we have to be very serious because this is causing a major problem with dealing with this disease. So yes, there are some health workers, especially some young doctors. And let me just quickly say, if someone were to ask me today, do you have few of the doctors that you can consider hero even before the war is over? I mean, quickly, I can talk about Dr. Hesu. I can talk about Dr. Ajame. These are young people who just graduated and voluntarily said, look, even though we do not know this disease, but we are willing to work with you and Dr. Jerry Brown to make sure that we can begin to cater to these people. And today, we have more than 300 persons that have served as survivors. And our management care that we are providing, and this is something we are going to publish, it is very, very good. It is very good that we are seeing even someone going to chronic case, through that management system, they are able to come out as survivors, even those that have some comorbidity. So these are things. So healthcare workers, we have some young people, dedicated, committed people that are willing to. But in every group, you may have 1 or 2 persons that may go to the extreme. And so we're trying to see how we can put everybody in check in order to make sure that we work with that. So yes, there's a situation with health workers, but we are trying to do that. Honorable Pierre, it's good to hear your voice. Talking about school and talking about airport, I don't know whether you came in late, but when it came to the school system, the reason for opening school is only the 12th graders. And it's because they will be taking the West African exam in August. This is something that we have as a country, we have no control over. From what we've been told, the council informed the Ministry of Education that they will be administering the exam in August. So we cannot continuously keep the 12th graders at home when they have an exam to take. Predicated on that, we have to work on the various SOP to what we think that we can do to safeguard the lives of the students in order to go to school. And so the SOP has been put in place, and only the 12th graders are the ones that go into school. When it comes to the airport, I mean, definitely you have been in governance and so forth, and you were a spokesperson. So yes, there are a lot of advice that the VIP has. What we do from the health perspective, we give our own advice, and so for whatever decision is made, our role and responsibility, and this is something we've done in the past, and you know what we did. So based on that, what we need to do within our own system is that understanding what is happening, we have to put in the best system so that if we begin to use that process, we do an after action report, and based on the after action report, we can now go back with another school of thought and say, look, this is what we've done, this is what we are seeing, predicated on these things. We think we need to either continue or we need to stop. And this is something that we are willing to do. So the first flight came in, the second flight has come in. We are analyzing the data, and definitely we will brief the VIP based on what we are seeing or what could happen. In terms of drugstores and clinics, this is something that have permeated the society. Continuous drugstores and clinics has been a problem in Liberia. And this started because of quote unquote free healthcare service. And so I will give you an example. I was in Plebo, Maryland County. And when I went there, normally when I'm down with malaria, I take a specific malaria medicine that I feel comfortable with. And so I went over to buy this at a local pharmacy in Plebo. When I got there, I saw an older lady, with her grandchild on her back. And she told the dispenser, oh, my child has fever, my child has this, and so forth. The total bill came to 975 Liberian dollars. And I'm standing there and say, wait, now, this older lady cannot afford this. To my ultimate surprise, she untied her lapel and checked $1,000, gave it, and she got her $25 change. When she walked out, I went after her and said, look, mama, the medicine you just bought is over at the health center. And I knew that because I had just visited the health center. So I went there, and she said, the medicine that they got at the health center is free, which means it doesn't work. So she's able to correlate free things to something that has no value, that is valueless, that doesn't work. So yes, she was willing to go to the drugstore to buy medication she would have gotten from the clinic free. So these are some of the things that are happening. And because of that, even healthcare workers have permeated the system of we need to maintain the healthcare system on a free basis because people cannot afford. But if you look at how much is being paid out of pocket, it is so high. And therefore, it is important in order to change the dimension and the paradigm that we are taking. Definitely, it is time to reinstitute cost recovery in the healthcare system. If that is done, that could negate some of the issues when it comes to drugstores and multiplicity of clinics in the country. Thank you.
The voice of Dr. Keter. Again, want to say a big thank you to you. You were marvelous. And as always, we want you to please make this place your home. And just before we take leave of you, we have another guest coming in. Just give us your parting comment.
Again, Ashford, let me just say a big thank you for getting in contact with me. Basically, my coming to Liberia is a passion that I have to serve the people of Liberia. And this is why, yes, indeed, I did turn down a job. And you can verify that. I was offered a job as public health director for Tompkins County, New York, Ithaca, New York. I turned that job down to come to Liberia because I felt I could contribute to the well-being of the people of Liberia. And so my coming back is a passion that I have. And because of the job, and you can do a research on the Ashford, in 2010, Governor Patterson, who was the governor for the state of New York, gave a 3 years exemption. It was because of me, because I was not a U.S. citizen, and in order to become public health director for Tompkins County, they had to put in a 3 years exemption to allow me to do that. And after they did that, I turned that job down and came to Liberia. So it is a passion, and all that we can do is continuously educate our people, because if we do not do that, who do we expect to come and talk to our people? And this is why I'm here. And so, my brothers and sisters out there, whatever information you have, whatever you can do to help our country, please let us do it together so that tomorrow Liberia will have a brighter future. Thank you so much.
Dr. Keta, and thank you so much too. Have a good night.
You too.
All right.
Hello?
Hello. I'm told we're experiencing some bad audio out there. Lexi, do you know something?
Yes. We can't hear you.
Can you hear, man? Oh, wow.
Well, I can hear you, but not on the airwaves.
Not on the we'll be having some technical.
Okay, better. Go on.
I'm told we're experiencing some bad audio out there. Better now?
It's better, yes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us tonight Antonin Asik W. Jackson. He's live from London tonight, the UK. Honorable Jackson, hello and welcome to British Radio Africa.
Yeah, hello, and thank you for having me. For and on behalf of the Liberian Permanent Mission to the IMO, I wish to say good evening, absolutely, to all of our citizens and those in the diaspora that are following the broadcast this evening. It's a pleasure having me, sir.
Okay. Again, folks, if you just joining us, you just heard it from the horse's mouth. And not to waste any time, Mr. Jackson, please tell us about your status currently with the government of Liberia. Do you still occupy the post of permanent representative of Liberia to the International Maritime Organization?
Yes, I do. And if I were go to a brief summary, really do a brief summary of the situation that we are dealing with, I'd like to begin by saying that I was appointed in September of 2016, September 13, 2016, by former Liberian leader, Her Excellency President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, as Liberia permanent representative to the International Maritime Organization. I was duly commissioned on August 28, 2016 to represent Liberia to the International Maritime Organization. I arrived at duty station in London on February 6, 2017, when I began my official work to represent Liberia at the International Maritime Organization. The International Maritime Organization is a specialized agency of the United Nations system that regulates global shipping. And as you may know, Liberia is a major player in the maritime sector. And so it is crucially important for Liberia to maintain a serious representation to the IMO. And so I started my work. In my role as Liberia permanent representative, I was able, with the support from the Select administration, to make sure that Liberia retained her seat on the IMO Council for the first time in many years with an increased number of votes. Liberia came back on the IMO Council when former Commissioner Kessley was heading the authority. Liberia came back on council with 112 votes. When I came to London with the support from the Select administration, we maintained the seat on the council with an increased number of votes. It is important because I want people to know that we are here and working effectively to make Liberia shine and to make our program to be respectable in the eyes of the international community. So we have been holding the flag of Liberia high at the IMO. So we retained our seat. We were 116 votes. That was the highest vote that Liberia ever received under my leadership. When the new government took over, Honor His Excellency President Weah, knowing fully well that my job is tenure for 5 years and renewable for an additional 4 years, President Weah, contrary to the 2010 Act of the Maritime Authority that introduced tenure for my position, he decided to unlawfully remove me from the position. I notified them that the job was tenure and that he could not have prematurely, removed me from the position. They were not paying attention, so I hired a lawyer in Monrovia, and the lawyer filed a writ of prohibition at the Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia on July 3rd, 2018, because the president made his appointment on June 18, 2018, right? So on July 3rd, my lawyer filed the writ of prohibition at the Supreme Court. Following preliminary hearing in the case at the Supreme Court, the then Chief Justice Eto Howard Wolokoli, issued a writ of prohibition on the executive, requesting the parties to return to status quo ante. That writ of prohibition was issued on July 23rd, 2018. So in keeping with that stay order, that is why I'm still in London and making my representation. When the Supreme Court issues stay order and say return to status quo ante, it means the Supreme Court did not recognize the appointment made by the president. They say Mr. Jackson will stay in London. He will continue to do his work, perform the function of the permanent representative to the IMO until at such time the case is disposed of. So the stay order is in place, and that's why I'm here. Even on April 16, 2019, when the Supreme Court met in bank, means the entire full bench of the Supreme Court sat down and heard the case. When they heard the case, the court in bank reinforced the Chamber Justice order on the executive, requesting the executive to renew my diplomatic passport in favor of me and my family, because that is what the Liberian law says. The Liberian law say, in keeping with my rank, my status, and the high level of representation that I'm making at the IMO, I am entitled to carry diplomatic passport. Matter of fact, I came to London with a diplomatic passport and a British diplomatic visa that was issued to me in keeping with my tenure to stay here for 5 consecutive years. So the British government issued me a diplomatic visa, a 5-year resident diplomatic visa. And so the court reinforced the Chamber Justice order requesting the executive to renew my diplomatic passport. All right. On September 18, Dr. Colley, James F. Colley, then Commissioner of the Maritime Authority, based on the court progressive opinion, wrote the Foreign Ministry requesting the Foreign Ministry to renew my diplomatic passport and those of my family members. Since that time up to present, the executive has not renewed my diplomatic passport.
Now, let me ask you this, Anthony Jackson. Now, which Liberian law specifically says that, can you quote that you are entitled to a diplomatic passport?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It is the executive law, chapter 30.3F of the executive law, from which we develop the passport regulation. All right. You read Article 4, RV4, Article 4, Section 9 of the passport regulation. It says that those who serve as diplomatic agents in foreign country are entitled to carry diplomatic passport. If the person have a wife, he and his wife and their children under age 18. That's what the law says. Matter of fact, the law follows that if I stay in my post and my tenure expire, I am entitled to carry that diplomatic passport till death. The only people who would take the diplomatic passport from will be my family members and my children. But if my tenure expire and I do not commit any crime, all right, I will continue to carry the diplomatic passport till I pass. That is the Liberian law. It's not subjected to the administration lacking. All right.
Now, what do you make of the recent statement by the Minister of Foreign Affairs saying you're having diplomatic passport is not entitled? As a matter of fact, you are entitled to a service passport and not a diplomatic passport. He does not see you as a diplomat.
No, first thing is he did not even say service passport. He said I'm allowed. It's the first thing. Let me put his statement in proper context and perspective, right?
Okay.
And honestly, I have thought as a diplomat now, because if you follow my history, I am a former student activist. Besides that, I serve as former deputy information minister for the Ministry of Information. Occasionally, I even serve as acting minister for information, right, under the Selip administration. In my current role as a diplomat, I thought to remain in that diplomatic cloud, all right, not commenting on this issue in the public. Because as a diplomat, I'm supposed to observe certain diplomatic etiquette, right? I'm commenting on this issue in the public because of the recent statement attributed to the Honorable Foreign Minister to the effect that he doesn't know whether I am an ambassador. He knows me to be a Liberian person, and I work for the IMO, and as a Liberian person, I'm entitled to carry ordinary Liberian passport. The statement by the foreign minister is not only factually inaccurate, but it is grossly misleading and even disrespectful to the Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia that have issued stay order on this matter. and by extension, it embarrasses Liberia's image internationally. Because when you're talking about diplomacy, the diplomacy is not regulated only by domestic national laws. It is also regulated by international convention. In keeping with the international convention, and I'm quoting for you the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations of 1961, it says, head of mission, and you know I'm a head of mission, right? Head of mission to foreign country are entitled to carry diplomatic passport. No foreign government will issue diplomatic visa in an ordinary passport. That's not part of the practice. All right. So the minister was erroneous. I mean, I want to be polite. He was wrong to have said what he said. Because number one, I do not work for IMO. I represent Liberia at the IMO. I'm the permanent representative of Liberia. Based upon my rank, my status, and the high-level representation that I am making, I am entitled to a diplomatic passport, which I have said earlier, in keeping with the law. Number two, Dr. James F. Garley wrote the Honorable Foreign Minister in 2018 September, requesting him to issue me or to renew my diplomatic passport. So how can a foreign minister come on public radio and say, oh, I don't know whether the man working for IMO, I don't know whether he's working for the government, he's working for IMO. How can he say this? The third thing is my notice of accreditation. You know, if they appoint you to this international organization, the president or the foreign minister is supposed to write what they call a notice of accreditation. In my case, the chief architect of Liberia foreign policy was President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. So she herself decided to do my notice of accreditation to the IMO Secretary General, Kita Lane. In the notice of accreditation that President Sirleaf did to the Secretary General, Kita Lane, she expressly said, let Mr. Jackson be allowed to attend diplomatic conferences on behalf of Liberia while he's represent Liberia at the IMO. Now, if I'm supposed to attend diplomatic conferences, do you expect me, like Honorable Finlay is saying, I'm gonna carry ordinary passport. Do you expect me to attend diplomatic conferences bearing ordinary passport? Is that the practice? No, it is not the practice. All right. Even though the Honorable Foreign Minister during his confirmation hearings, he said that he doesn't have experience with diplomacy, and he was going to learn on the job. Personally, for me, having taken 3 years on the job as foreign minister, I expect by now the Honorable Foreign Minister will be able to navigate the high sea of diplomacy with all the kind of major error that he's making. What he said on the radio has a potential to make Liberia a laughing stock in the international community. Because the issue of diplomacy is not regulated only by domestic law. It is regulated by international convention. If you read the Vienna Convention, Article 14 of the Vienna Convention talks about diplomatic precedence and etiquette. It is not part of the precedent and etiquette of diplomacy for somebody who is a diplomatic agent to be walking around with ordinary passport. I'm in London. Her Majesty government is entreating me with diplomatic courtesy and immunities. You understand?
Mr.
I
Jackson,
ride a diplomatic plated car. So
Mr.
how can the honorable foreign minister say I'm gonna carry ordinary passport? It's not reasonable, right?
Mr. Jackson, let us do a little bit of fact checking yet. Okay.
Yeah.
The head of mission is the ambassador in the UK. Do you agree with that? The head of mission is the ambassador in the UK.
No. Let me explain that point.
Hold on. To the Court of St. James, not the IMO representative. I hope you get that. And again,
No, let
or representative falls under the head of mission, which is the Liberian ambassador to the UK.
No, let me explain that for you. You don't understand it.
Okay.
Liberia has technically two missions in London. One is the political mission, which Her Excellency Ambassador Garley Gibson head. The permanent mission to IMO, all right, I had that mission. It like in America, right, the United States, right? Liberia has two missions in the United States. Washington, D.C., which is the political representation, and the permanent mission to the United Nations, which is in New York, where Kumayan is, all right? So similar thing is in London. The mission that I had to the IMO is the technical representation. It is not the political representation. What Madam Garley Gibson, Ambassador Her Excellency Garley Gibson has is the political mission. So if you were to flip it and put it in the American context, she would be in Washington, D.C., all right? And I would be in New York. You understand the parallelism? Do you understand the parallelism?
Go ahead.
Okay, so that is the parallel, right? And the issue of, and this is where even the Minister of Foreign Affairs is also making, you know, a mistake that should not be made by a foreign minister, really. You need to draw a line of distinction between an ambassador and a diplomatic agent. I have argued before the Supreme Court. The first time, right? Let me remind the audience that what is happening is that the government is giving mixed signal and mixed explanation.
So what do you then say that there are not two heads in London as it relates to this, the head of the mission? There's only one head of mission in the UK. What do you then say to that? They say there's only one head, and you are saying there is a political head and there's a technical head. And they went for the
Garley, Ashford Garley.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing should not be difficult to understand. If you live in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you live in America, you know that Liberia has a permanent representative to the United Nations, correct?
That's right.
And you know that Liberia has an ambassador proper to Washington, D.C.
That's
Is it
correct.
difficult to understand that? The same thing happens in London. In London, because of Liberia's standing in the maritime community, Liberia maintains a permanent mission to the IMO, while Liberia has an ambassador proper. The ambassador is Her Excellency Madam Garley Gibson. She deals with Liberia direct relationship with Her Majesty government. She is the ambassador to the Court of St. James. All right?
So are you now saying that you are at the same level with the ambassador in the UK? Is that what you saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm surprised that we even keeping conversation on ambassadorial issue. Like I keep saying to you, the foreign minister is supposed to know, as per his status, that there is a distinction between an ambassador and a diplomatic agent. I am in keeping with the law. And even before the Supreme Court, it was a Liberian government under the former Solicitor General, Daku Moba, that was arguing in the court that I am an ambassador. And Daku Moba argument why he said I was an ambassador, because he wanted to put me under Article 54 of the Liberian Constitution. And under Article 54 of the Constitution, then the president is supposed to dismiss me. So the government is giving conflicting argument. In the Supreme Court, I made a clarification that I was not an ambassador proper. All right? So I did not fall under Article 54 of the Liberian Constitution. My letter appointing me doesn't say I am an ambassador. My letter appointing me say I am a permanent representative. I have a diplomatic rank. I am a diplomatic agent. There's a distinction that the foreign minister is supposed to know. The letter appointing any ambassador will say you are appointed as ambassador and plenipotentiary. The ambassador will go for confirmation hearing. in my role as diplomatic agent, I do not go for confirmation hearing. Okay. Number 2, in my role as diplomatic agent, I do not report to the foreign ministry. I report to the maritime authority because it is a technical representation that I am making. You understand it? So I am not, in the real sense of the word, I am not an ambassador de jure. I'm not, what de jure means, I'm not an ambassador in law, but I am a diplomatic agent.
But the foreign ministry is also accurate that you are entitled to an official passport and not a diplomatic passport. It's in the event where you get one diplomatic passport, it will be out of courtesy and not entitlement.
No, that's wrong. That's wrong. You see, what the foreign ministry people, and it's not the foreign ministry people, what the foreign minister is mistaken is the issue regarding diplomacy is regulated by international convention, right? The head of diplomatic mission to any international corporation do not carry official passport. In fact, they are not saying official passport. You are saying the official passport thing. They are saying ordinary passport. But even at my rank, I cannot carry official passport because it is not the practice and precedent. All of those who were my predecessors, they all carry diplomatic passport, they and their children. I just started to you the law, correct? You read Article 4, Section 9 of the passport regulation, it is clear. The people who carry official passport are deputy ministers, assistant minister. I am a bit higher than those rank. All right? So it shouldn't be something difficult for the government to navigate.
Again,
my predecessor.
Again, when you also said that you are not ambassador, on the foreign ministry, is it wrong when the foreign minister said he does not know you to be ambassador? Is it wrong to say that?
It is factually inaccurate.
Why? Why so?
Because he's saying, why it is factually inaccurate? He's saying that I am not, he doesn't know me to be an ambassador, so I am not supposed to carry diplomatic passport. It is factually inaccurate because it is not only ambassador that carry diplomatic passport. You don't have to be ambassador to carry diplomatic passport if you read the law. Even people who are supervised at my office, people who working under me, let me speak elaborately. People who working under me, they are carrying diplomatic passport. And I who serve as head of the mission, how can you say I should not carry diplomatic passport?
You agree that it is not entitlement, it's just giving it out of courtesy. Would you agree with that?
No, I disagree. My rank entitled me to carry diplomatic passport. It is an entitlement that I justly deserve. You understand it? Ejela, you say, I'm appointing, I'm giving you acknowledgement, right? I'm appointing you as Liberia permanent representative to the United Nations, but I will give you service passport. That is not the headquarter agreement. It is in contravention of the Vienna Convention. All of the representation at the United Nations, those who make the representation there, they carry diplomatic passport. All of the member states that are making representation at the IMO, they carry diplomatic passport. So it is an entitlement that I justly deserve. You understand it? So at that stage, it is not, it's not optional. It is not just, courtesy again. It is an entitlement. A judge is saying, I appoint you a minister proper. They say, even though I appoint you a minister proper, but I'm not going to give you, diplomatic passport. I mean, it's not sensible, right? When a man is minister proper, he is entitled to carry diplomatic passport. Even though it is a privilege, but it is a privilege to which he is entitled by his rank. Is it difficult to understand? Garley, are you understanding the point I'm making?
Go ahead.
It shouldn't be difficult to understand. If you are appointed today as Liberia representative to the United Nations, the government can say, oh, it's a privilege. But the fact that you are appointed as representative of Liberia to a foreign country, it is an entitlement now. It is not just a privilege again. The privilege thing comes about when you do not have appointment. All right. Like, say for instance, if the president of the Republic of Liberia wanted you, Ashford Garley, to visit Liberia urgently, the foreign minister can be instructed to issue you a diplomatic passport to facilitate your smooth travel to Liberia. That's where the privilege comes in. All right. But not when you are appointed to a job that warrants you to carry diplomatic passport. Then somebody argues, say, oh, it's a privilege. No, brother. In keeping with the international convention and the headquarter agreement, I am entitled to carry it. So, Garley, I'm heading Liberia permanent mission to the IMO. As head of the mission, I carry ordinary passport. Then my deputy or the people who are supervised, they carry diplomatic passport. What are you trying to say?
Okay,
Mr. It's sensible.
Mr. Jackson, I know you have been going back and forth with the government on this issue. This has caused you some type of embarrassment. The last I checked, I heard you on one of the local radio stations, and you would talk. Your kids were supposed to go on vacation, but because of the absence of the passport, they were not able to renew their passport. I mean, it caused a lot of embarrassment. Tell us, what are some of the pain you went through in the absence of your passports?
I mean, it has been a bit torturing for my family. But you know, like Martin Luther King, said before, he said the art of the moral justice is long, right? It bends, but it bends towards justice. All right? The art of the moral universe is long. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. My family and I have been enduring considerable hardship. On August 15, 2019, my wife, mother passed. My mother-in-law passed away in Liberia. We again renew our request for diplomatic passport. The government did not issue a diplomatic passport. They sent to my wife ordinary passport. Now, they wanted my wife to go to Liberia to attend her mother's funeral with ordinary passport. But Garley, my wife and my children came to London with diplomatic passport. If she goes to Liberia with ordinary passport, the British government will not put diplomatic visa in ordinary passport. That's one of the things that you must take note of. Mm-hmm. So if you have a diplomatic status, you can't be walking around with ordinary passport because the foreign government will not issue you a diplomatic visa in an ordinary passport. Because of that, my wife did not attend her mother's funeral. Today, my wife has not even brought closure to, the sad passing of her mother. She could not have traveled. She's still here. The children did not even go back home to even see their grandmother, even until her sad passing. This has caused the woman psychological anguish, pain. Imagine your mother. You're not talking ordinary person, your mother. The woman passed away, the people could not go because of the same conflict. What the foreign minister and the other people some of the people in the government are doing, they are lowering Liberia's representation to the international world. Liberia, as a founding member of the IMO, a traditional leader in the maritime sector, the man who represents Liberia, you say that he must carry ordinary passport, a family should carry ordinary passport only because of a political disagreement that he had, or only because of a case he takes to court.
But Mr. Jackson, I mean, void of politics. You talked about your wife losing a relative that's very close to her. Mm-hmm. Why would I even try with a laissez-passer? Why?
So if she Ashford Garley, it seems to be you're not understanding anything. If the woman travel with laissez-passer, how does she come back to London to join her family?
Well, and that's when you make the argument to go to the foreign minister and apply, because
they're not going to give it to you. I have written, the foreign minister was written in September 2018, up to now, they didn't get a passport. Up to 2020. You said the woman should leave from here and go with laissez-passer. How does she come back to London? She will come back to London with laissez-passer?
I'm just talking.
The British government will allow you to come to London with laissez-passer? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just talking about her presence being at her mother's funeral.
But if she goes to Liberia, she will get stranded. How does she come back and join her family? in London. She will not join her family in London because she will not come back to London with laissez-passer. To renew diplomatic passport doesn't cost you 3 days. At most 2 days, you renew it. Why is the government taking over 2 years to renew diplomatic passport when the government can renew the diplomatic passport in 3 days? Darling, do you understand it?
But she
can you travel to Liberia? You can leave America now and go to Liberia with laissez-passer. Can you come back to America with laissez-passer from Liberia?
She can still be issued a return travel document.
How? Who's going to issue it?
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
But the Foreign Affairs is reluctant to issue it while she's here. The last time I went in Liberia, she want to go renew the same book. You know what she underwent? The government is supposed to, the DHL, the world is a global village. I reapply for the renewal of the passport. The government, if the government wanted to do it, they would do it and DHL it to me. Colleagues in America, colleagues in DC, colleagues in Geneva. When they apply for passport, the government does it and they send it by DHL. You say my wife, with nobody behind her, she will go to Liberia with laissez-passer, then she go to foreign ministry, and you say they will give up a document. You really think so, Garley?
But Mr. Jackson, help me understand. Bring me up to speed.
What are you talking about?
No, help me understand something. Why are they going after you? If you so believe that they're going after you, why are they going after you?
I mean, it is a sad situation with our country, right? The government seems to be offended by the fact that I challenge their action in the court of law. But like I say to people often, if anybody is aggrieved in a democracy, the best place you can go to take your grievances is to the court. So going to court should not anger the government so much that it uses undemocratic tactics and bullying techniques against me. They should see my action to go to court as an action in good faith to test the law. All right? So, you know, I find it a little troubling that after 100 plus years, we are still dealing with the issue. The same situation, and I will draw an analogy, right? The same situation I'm facing today with passport issue. It was the same situation that the Council of Brunskin had even under the Taylor regime. When Brunskin went to Liberia for the first time in 2003, the Taylor people seized his passport, and there was a big noise. Some of my friends who are in government today, we were all critical of the Taylor government. Why are you stopping the man's passport? Why you can't get a man's passport? When you stop people's passport, you are infringing on their right to free movement. We can't travel anywhere outside of London because the government will not renew our passport. And I will ask you again, Garley, if you left America now and went to Liberia, on laissez-passer, can you come back to America on laissez-passer? You can't travel to America on laissez-passer from Liberia. All right? The government is reluctant to renew the book. The government could have renewed the book here while in Liberia and sent it to me by DHL. That is the extent that's the standard practice. Why are they not doing it? You know, we have to reach a stage where we read the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia clearly. Article 11C of the Liberian Constitution is clear. It says, all of us, we are equal before the law. All right? So that is the same law, the same logic that is applicable to the election law. Whether you president, whether you sweeper, whether you Joe Blow, all of us got one vote at a time. All right? So I think instead of some elements in the government misconstruing my action as being against the president, they should see the action in good faith. They should see it as a true test to our democracy. They should see it as an effort to at least make a strong case or to strengthen the governance system of the country. Because the issue I have raised before the Supreme Court goes to the heart of the governance issue in our country. Talk about tenure. My tenure, in keeping with the Constitution, is under Article 89 of the Constitution. All right? So it has to do with, do we respect our law? Do we respect the position of tenure? If we respect the tenure position, why don't you accord me my diplomatic rights? The foreign government that I am accredited to, it is according me, it is entreating me with diplomatic courtesy. Why is my country doing this? I don't know. That's why I say the international partners are laughing at that. They're laughing at us. They are laughing at us because if you read the Vienna Convention, Article 22 of the Vienna Convention says the host country should do absolutely nothing to impair the dignity of a diplomatic agent. All right? You go to Article 27 of the Vienna Convention, even the bag I carry as a diplomatic agent, the British government should not even touch that bag before they say they will search it. All right? If the government is even agreed to take action, you cannot even take arbitrary action while I carry a diplomatic passport. You know that? God forbid, if I were to even commit crime in London, which I will never do, the British government security people will not come and arrest me. They will have to write the Liberian government to request the waiver of my diplomatic status before they can even ask me questions. That is in keeping with the Vienna Convention, Article 29 of the Vienna Convention. My government is basically, treating the Vienna Convention as though they have not read the document before, which I think is an embarrassment to Liberia's image as a member state, or as a signatory to the Vienna Convention. Liberia is a signatory to the convention. So Liberia is supposed to be respecting the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations.
Well, Isaac, I know how you feel. You have been going back and forth with this government. You still don't have your passport. So you were in court. What is the way forward? How do you resolve this?
I mean, for me personally, like I keep saying, my action to go to court is not directed against, the president. It is to test our judicial system. Liberia is a country of law. We are all subject to the law. The statute that created the Maritime Act, it provided for the tenure for good reason. The efficacy behind the tenure was to make sure that the Liberian Maritime Program preserve consistency, maintain continuity, and prevent the maritime program from serving as a revolving door. We are dealing with international partners. So when we introduced the tenure, it was to make sure that the person who represents Liberia will stay a longer period and the international community will be familiar and confident with who they work with at the maritime. That was why the tenure was introduced. And even when the tenure was introduced, there were only three things that the new law touched. It changed the need from Maritime Bureau to Maritime Authority. It introduced the tenure and it only changed the logo. Everything remains the same. So for me, the way forward is to look towards the court. The court, as it has said, the statu quo ante is in place until at such time it disposes of the issue. I will be in London. I will pray to God that, the court will smile upon me. And one of the things I have said to people is that, look, the court authority.
How many years have you served now?
I've been in London for at least 3 years now.
3 years.
So I got 2 more years.
So statu quo ante remains until your 2 years elapse. So you're going to come back home, correct?
Oh yes, obviously. I love my country. I'm representing my country. Not because I'm having these smaller disagreement. So I will not continue to project Liberia's image. No, I am serving with clerical dignity and distinction at the IMO. I'm representing Liberia very well. So whether they renew the passport, I can leave from my office, get in my diplomatic car, and go to the IMO. In fact, all the member states that have representation at the IMO, they carry diplomatic car. How you would carry a diplomatic car with ordinary passport? I mean, this thing doesn't make any sense. That's why our people, when you start violating international convention, it is not about Ansel Jackson. It is about the country's image and the representation the man makes. Like in the military, right? I'll give you an analogy of the military. In the military, they say when you salute in the military, you're not saluting the man wearing the uniform. You're saluting the rank. The Liberian government is supposed to respect the rank that I hold as a representative to the IMO for Liberia. It is what you're supposed to respect. Forget about me. You don't have to like me. But the office I occupy is prestigious in the eyes of the international community. That's why we're supposed to accord that office the utmost respect. But the man carry a diplomatic car. He ride a diplomatic plated car. And he say, you're not getting ordinary passport. I mean, how is that sensible? You know, the authority of the court, the Supreme Court, is sui generis, right? It means the court has their own authority. The court a move, but nobody can push the court. You cannot push the court to do anything for it. I can draw an analogy and say the court is almost like a huge shape. It's slow, but it is effective. So I got confidence in the court. I know the issue are submitted to the Supreme Court. They have sufficient legal reasoning, background, and argument. So the court will rule in my favor. All that the court is doing, the court is basically giving the government ample time to solve this problem. But the government, instead of trying to solve the problem, some of the people in the government are making statements that seems to even want to compound the problem that we're dealing with. I'm representing Liberia. My family, my children, everybody here. You say, oh, you seized my passport. I cannot even travel outside of the UK to represent Liberia, even now in America, in China, in Singapore. I cannot. So how you think I will make Liberia case outside of the UK? How am I supposed to do my work?
Now, Mr. John, I'm told we lost our seat on the governing council of the IMO. Why did we lose our seat?
Exactly the same situation we're dealing with. If I cannot travel to lobby the other member states, how do you think? What do you think? But the work I do here is to lobby and make Liberia shine. If you gave me ordinary passport, my passport expire. Can I travel from here to America with expired passport and come back? Say I wanted to come and lobby Congress to have the American government support us. Can I travel to America with expired passport? Or can I travel to America with ordinary passport? And you think the foreign government will put diplomatic visa in ordinary passport? You cannot put diplomatic visa in ordinary passport. That's why diplomatic visa go with diplomatic passport. If my diplomatic passport expire as it has been, it is the duty of the Liberian government to renew the diplomatic passport. That's why the court issued the stay order. So the stay order was make sure that while the man carrying his diplomatic passport, he will continue to carry his diplomatic passport. He will continue to do his work smoothly, unhindered, until at such time we dispose of this. Now, some of the people in the government, like Honorable Finney and others, they are now violating the Supreme Court stay order openly. Openly. In disregard to the Supreme Court stay order, they're talking about ordinary passport. We should not be keeping the conversation about ordinary passport in the face of a Supreme Court stay order. The Supreme Court is the highest court in our land. How can we be the Supreme Court issue order, stay order? When they say stay order, the stay order is issued. You can't go near the court. You can't go near the matter that the court issued the stay order in. Today, they still saying, oh, no way. The court, I'm holding diplomatic passport. The court issued the stay order in favor of me carrying my diplomatic passport. Then you go on radio and start talking about, oh, no, we're getting ordinary passport now because we're knowing to be ordinary Liberian man. Come on, you can't do it. I'm not ordinary. I am a diplomatic agent. Diplomatic agent carry diplomatic passport. The people who are supervised at the IMO, the Liberian English, the people who working under me, they carry diplomatic passport. How can you say it's a privilege? Even if it is a privilege, it is a privilege that I am justly entitled to by virtue of my rank, my status, and the high level of representation I continue to make on behalf of my country. So if a privilege, I should enjoy that privilege. I am entitled, deservingly entitled to that privilege. And that should not be anything that we should be debating, especially in the face of a Supreme Court stay order. That's why I found the Honorable Foreign Minister statement very shocking, regretful, short-sighted, and even disrespectful to the Supreme Court. Disrespectful to the Supreme Court. You can't do that. Liberia, as a founding member, you try to degrade your country because of Isaac Jackson. You can't degrade Liberia because of me. Forget about me. Forget about me. Somebody say, oh, they downgrade Isaac Jackson to ordinary. Can you downgrade me? My friend, I'm not boasting, right? I have almost 15 years of high-level representation government experience. All right? Coupled with that, I am a law graduate. I went to one of the best schools in England. I have a Master of Law degree in international economic law. I have an LLB in law from Liberia. I have a BSc in economics. When my tenure expires, I will go and get jobs. So you're not downgrading me. What you're downgrading is Liberia. You are downgrading Liberia representation. So Liberia will be the only member state of the IMO where they own a representative carrying ordinary passport. And who's going to entreat me as a diplomat when carrying ordinary passport?
Okay.
You say the man is a diplomatic agent. He came to London with diplomatic passport. Suddenly, because he takes issue to court, you say you gave him ordinary passport. It doesn't work that way. You cannot take arbitrary action in this matter because they are controlled by etiquette. They are controlled by international convention. If the government want to take away my passport, it must be consistent with due process of law. You can't wake up someone in the morning and say, we will get him ordinary passport. No, it must be consistent with due process of law. Has he committed any wrong? No. If he has not committed any wrong, why are you giving him ordinary passport? That is the question that Garley, you should be concerned with. That Liberians should be concerned with. Why are we degrading our own representative at the IMO? Everybody at the IMO, every member state at the IMO is carrying diplomatic passport. They're carrying diplomatic plated card. Why our representative is now being reduced to carry ordinary passport?
Okay.
Why Liberians are not concerned? Liberians should be concerned about this. It's not me. It is Liberia image that is being dragged in the mud by the honorable foreign minister who is supposed to be promoting Liberia's image. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, like myself, we are supposed to be promoting Liberia's image and not to do things that would degrade Liberia or to tarnish Liberia's image. You are making Liberia a laughing stock when you gave to a diplomatic agent an ordinary passport. Because that's not acceptable convention practice.
The tough talking, Anthony Ashford Jackson. I think, all the time we're just going to take a few calls, and I think the people out there want to weigh in as well. The number to call is 248-979-1718. We have 025-0215. Tell us the name. 774-0215.
Okay.
Tell us your name.
Okay, this is me here. My name is Ansel Dwalu, and I'm calling from Boston, Massachusetts. How you guys doing?
Hey, Dwalo, how you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
How are you?
Hello?
Yeah, welcome to the show, Dwalo. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, man. Mr. Jackson, I follow the show, and I listen to you. Everything you said makes a lot of sense. We appreciate what's going on, and we understand how dangerous it is for our country and how this disadvantages our country. Everything that's been done to you, I agree 100%. It is wrong. It has to be addressed very quickly. But I have a question for Mr. Jackson.
Yes,
Mr. Jackson, I want you to understand something. That power is fleeting. It's temporary. Everything that's being done to you, you did to other people. You defended wrong when you were information minister.
Hold on, Dwalo.
How do you contrast it? Yes.
Dwalo, hold on 1 minute. Mr. Jackson, please take a notepad, okay? Because you can come in. Continue, Dwalo.
Okay.
Yeah, Dwalo, continue.
You want me to go ahead now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello.
Sir, please,
Yes, can you hear me now?
Hold on.
Yeah, Mr. Garley, I can hear you.
Listen, sir.
Yes, this is Alfred Kunowa, and I've been following the
Listen,
show.
my brother.
Yeah.
Alfred, listen. Somebody is speaking. You can't just come and say you want to talk. Wait in line. Wait your turn, okay? I beg you. Go ahead, Dwalo.
Okay. Yeah, I really don't go after. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, this is Dwalu speaking now. It's my turn, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. Start the turn.
Hey,
Go ahead.
you know,
Okay.
listen, it is my position to tell Dwalo to go ahead, my brother. Just stay in queue, yeah? Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. This is Dwalu back on the line from Boston, Massachusetts. Mr. Jackson, like I said, welcome to the show. We really appreciate what you've been saying. Everybody's in solidarity with you with what is going on with you. This is wrong, and I really don't care about Mr. Jackson so much about the image of Liberia and how this disadvantages Liberia. This has to be addressed very quickly. But like I said previously, I have a simple question for Mr. Jackson, and I really appreciate when he will answer this question. Mr. Jackson has to understand that power is fleeting. It is temporary. When you are in position of power, you have a constitutional right, a God-given right to protect other people, and not allow your position to overshadow other Liberians because you have that position. The very Mr. Jackson that is being taken advantage of, that is being abused, that is being denied his constitutional right, this very Mr. Jackson defended the wrong previous government. My question to him is, how does he feel now? Or how does he contrast what is being done to him and what he did to other people, defending the very wrong that denies other people their constitutional right? I want him to answer that question. Thank you so much, Mr. Garley.
Thank you. We have Mr. Pia on the line. Mr. Pia, the microphone is yours. Mr. Pia? Maybe he has the phone on mute. Hello, Pia. Are you there? Okay.
After on the line.
Okay, let's move on to 9384, the last 4 digits of your number.
Yes. Are you not hearing me? Oh, yeah, I'm hearing you. Are you? Is it my time?
9384. Tell us your name.
Yeah, that's George.
Okay, go ahead. Make a point.
Oh,
This is George Lobo.
Oh, got it.
Mr. Lobo, go ahead.
All right. I just wanted to say to Isaac Jackson, first and foremost, let me say sorry to you and your family for the level of mayhem being brought upon you people by the government. We understand what it means to represent the country. But I just called real quick, Ashford, just to make one thing very clear. Like he said, the ambassador represents the country, which is a political mission. And that is separate from the action. What I will ask you and your family to do is just to continue to stay there. This have shown the government high level of ignorance. I thought President Assembly have learned on the job.
Hold on, George.
Is very embarrassing and shameful.
Mr. Lobo, Mr. Lobo, please hold on. Listen, 401, the last 4 digits, 201. Please be respectful, man. Mute your phone if you're not speaking. I beg you. I need to turn you off because this is just not fair, you know? Okay. George, are you done with your questioning?
Yeah, let me, not a question real quick, just a comment. I just wanted to tell Mr. Jackson to hang in there. Let the Liberian people, at least he's done his part to come out. But he made a very good point that all Liberians should be concerned because today is Isaac Jackson. Tomorrow could be you or somebody close to you. This is completely wrong and unacceptable to our country. Liberia as a signatory to the Vienna Convention. We cannot be misrepresenting our country like this. I'm just trying to say, sir, sorry for the embarrassment. I wish you all the best. The CDC government will pay for it. Their time will come. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Okay, we have Alfred. Momodu, God.
Thank you very much. More or less a Liberian this evening. And let me say to Honorable Jackson, I am not one of those presidents who very follow you too religiously for what you have done. This is why 250,000 people die for in Liberia. The rule of law. That's what people die for. So you don't owe anybody an apology. That was the right thing to do, and that's what you did. So if the government feels that they have personal issue with you, let them downgrade themselves. They will not be downgrading you. I can say that for a fact. They will not be downgrading you because you have already connected yourself. You are an educated individual. You can survive anywhere, any given time. So don't even go personal with them. Just go as what the law says. Don't go personal with them because the weird government has violated the Constitution on many occasions. You can remember the removal of Justice Janet. We also saw the appointment and subsequent sending of the U.S. ambassador to America. We saw how the process went. We saw how following the rule of law. So, Mr. Jackson, what I can say to you is be calm. Don't say nothing personal. Whatever they want to do, let them go ahead and just do what you got to do for Liberia.
Thank you, Alfred. Thank you. Mr. Jeromilin P.I., are you still there?
Yes, I'm here, Garley. How are you?
Good. You're nice. Go ahead.
Okay. It's a good thing to listen to my
Hold on a minute, P.I. Hold on a minute, please. Hold on a minute, please. 774-1142, please meet your phone. 774-1142, please meet your phone. I'll cut you off. Okay. Let me just let you go. Because you can't hear. Go ahead, Mr. Pierre.
Yeah, okay. So it's a good thing to hear my brother and friend Arthur Jackson, a brother with whom I worked for a long time. We both worked with government communication. We've had differences at times, even at present, but we remain brother. And the issue of justice is not basically based on the relationship with a person or another you have with people. So I'm very concerned about what has been happening to Brother Jackson. Firstly, let me start by saying I think it would be the proper thing for our big brother, he's from Basel, the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, to find the time to right the wrongs that he's already done by announcing that Arthur Jackson works for the INO. That is not an error that we expect from such office. So I think it will be in his interest to correct that. It's like saying Mazrek Kimayan, who is Liberia's representative, permanent representative to the United Nations, works for the United Nations. No, he does not. But here is my question to Arthur Jackson. When the Supreme Court issues a stay order and says return to status quo ante, what we know it means is that return to things as they were, which means Arthur remains the permanent representative of the IMO, all the immunities that he's supposed to enjoy restored, and so forth. In this case, the government did not follow the Supreme Court's ruling. What I want to find out from Arthur, who is a lawyer, what happens when an instruction or decision of the Supreme Court has been disobeyed? Did he, Arthur Jackson, complain that contrary to the decision of the Supreme Court, that in this matter they should return to status quo ante, that it was not done? Did he do that? And if he did so, the Supreme Court is yet to ask, how does it work in the court? Do they just allow people to go with impunity if they don't honor decisions that come from the court? And second, why is it difficult for the Supreme Court to just dispose of the matter instead of just remaining in this cycle of status quo ante? Why if they were to adjudicate this matter and then resolve it, and then we know what the findings or decision of the Supreme Court is? What in the view of Azi is responsible for this prolongation?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pierre. We have one more caller, and then we'll go back to Mr. Jackson. 2018 is the last 4-digit number. Tell us your name.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Isaac Jackson. My name is Jay Kirewi Alexander Tote, call from Minnesota this evening. Mr. Jackson, I've been following the conversation between you and the government. And I really, I am a Tunisian, but I'm a Liberian, and I know you very well. I've been following you, and when I was in Liberia, I fell for you. But my point here is that, the government or the Supreme Court trying to play double standard game. He has said that the Supreme Court says you should return to status quo. But they did not make specific reference as to whether the government should issue you or just diplomatic passport back to you. So the Supreme Court needs to provide clarity. And my question to you is the 2-year term in London. Would you like to go back to Liberia?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Want to go back?
So we start from the bottom, right?
That's right.
So from the bottom, the caller who just dropped the line, I forgot his name. I didn't collect his name. But let me say to him that the court order was very clear. It didn't just say return to status quo ante. That's what I said. When the court issued the order on July 23rd, 2018 to return to status quo ante, the court then met on April 16, 2019 and reinforced the order. This time around, the court expressly requested the executive to renew my passport. I can quote verbatim what the court said. The court said, Anthony Arthur Jackson, lawyer, will work with the Solicitor General Den Daku Moba, along with the Foreign Minister, to renew his diplomatic passport. That was the instruction from His Honor, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia. That progressive ruling is there. It was made on April 16, 2019. It was even reported in the Daily Observer and other newspapers. All right? So that is for that question he asked, right? The court on April 16, 2019 expressly told them, you're getting his passport, you're paying his salary, you will be doing his work. The state of court, until you can say the man should stay in your office. If I stay in my office, I supposed to be working, right? The thing that will facilitate my work are the passport. I got to travel to talk for Liberia. If I don't have renewed passport, how do I travel to talk for Liberia? It's just commonsensical. All right? So to the question from my distinguished colleague, Jeremy Pia, and Jeremy Pia asked a very salient question. The question was, Mr. Jackson, what happens if someone disobeys the court's order? And whether or not have I informed the court? Yes, Pia, I have informed the court. The way we do it is to file what they call the Bill of Information. I filed the Bill of Information, informing the court that the instructions that were given in 2018 and 2019, those instructions have not been followed by the executive. So the Bill of Information is before the court. As to the question of what happens, normally, if the court were to hear the Bill of Information, the court would then issue what will look like a rate of contempt. In that rate, it says it will invite, if the court hears the Bill of Information and recognizes that something has been done wrongly, that its instructions have not been carried out, the court will issue a contempt, but the contempt will come in the form of a notice to the head of the Maritime Authority and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, writing there saying, you come to the court, inviting them, come to the court and give reason why we should not hold you in contempt. That's what the practice and procedure is. So the court is supposed to notify the Bureau of Maritime or the Maritime Authority and the Minister of Foreign Affairs and say, please come and give reason, and the Minister of Justice, please come and give reason why we should not hold you people in contempt, because the Bureau of Information before us say you have not carried out the instruction. Now, the last question Pierre asked was, why is the court taking long? That question I cannot answer clearly, but I can say to Pierre that the court's authority is sui generis, sui generis. You can't push the court. You can't put court in hurry, even though there is a common aphorism that says justice delay is justice deny, but you can't push the court to do things in a hurry, right? Because whatever decision the Supreme Court takes or makes or opinion it renders, that opinion is a law and it outlives every regime or every other administration. So sometimes the court can actually say, we have to take our time to painstakingly scrutinize the petition before us. Because when we decide, this is the last, well, that's the last area we go for redress, right? That's the highest court in the land. So when we speak, it's final. So we take our time. I can draw, and normally when I draw an analogy about the court, I say the court is almost like a big ship. When you see a very huge ship, you think it's not moving, right? But it's moving slowly. Before you realize it docks. And when it docks, that's the final. So for me, I'm not trying to push the court in any hurry. I'm just saying and encouraging the court to pass on this matter. I am hopeful and I'm prayerful that the court will take judicial notice of these utterances from both the Minister of Information and the Foreign Minister relative to them openly disobeying the court's order and talking about ordinary passport. Ordinary passport should not be a conversation we should be keeping by now, especially in the face of a court order. You cannot be talking ordinary passport. The court say renew diplomatic passport. The court say get ordinary passport. Every Liberian, natural born Liberian person, it is their inalienable right. They are entitled to ordinary passport. So to give me ordinary passport, I'm not favor. You know what I mean? It's something that I justly entitled to. It's my right. That's my constitutional right. Even the diplomatic passport, where they say it's a privilege, it is a privilege that I am entitled to by virtue of the high quality representation I am making, by virtue of my rank, by virtue of my current status. I am justly entitled to carry diplomatic passport. So, Honorable Pierre, when the court decide, that will be the final. I'm hoping that the court will decide in my favor. One of the things I will even draw your attention to is that when you see the court doing like this in other jurisdiction, the court is effectively sending signal to the executive to resolve this problem. The court is being a little bit magnanimous to the executive. Say, look, this man has a good case. You try to find a way to solve it. That's why you see the court taking its own time. All right? Because the matter we submitted before the court, yeah, it is substantive. Just imagine, let's take common sense to a higher level. Ashford Jackson, who is just a permanent representative, start the president nomination. You think I submitted a rubbish argument and the court will entertain my argument for 2 years against a powerful president in Africa? If I had submitted a rubbish argument, the Chamber of Justice will not even countenance it in the first place. If my argument were rubbish, if the petition I submitted to the Supreme Court were rubbish, they will not entertain it, especially against a powerful president in Africa. But the court is aware that the argument we submitted, they are with serious merits, serious legal merits. They have serious legal and cogent merits. That's why the court taking its own time and giving the executive room to see how the executive can solve this stalemate. But if the executive doesn't do it and the way they carry on now, disrespecting the court and talking about ordinary passport, the court may rule soon. And I will be glad if the court pass judgment in my favor. Like I said, Dr. King said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bent toward justice. No matter how long this evil lasts, justice one day will be served. Then I go to the other caller who talk about my okay, one of the other caller from Honor said, oh, Mr. Jackson, please be calm. We know, we understand. Look, my brother, I will be calm. I will do nothing that will tarnish the image of Liberia. In fact, I can say to you, they just ended IMO council meeting. I attended that meeting to the dismay of most of the people. People thought I would be angry and I would not go to the meeting. No, I went to the meeting. I spoke there very well. I spoke so well that the former commissioner, Dr. James Collins, he spoke after me. He reminded the audience that Mr. Jackson used to be the spokesperson for the former government, and this is what he does. He's a good speaker. Because my line of argument during the recession was that Liberia as a republic is recognized for a number of historic firsts. Liberia has produced the first democratically elected female president on the African continent. Liberia is the first republic on the African continent. Liberia has also produced the first world best soccer player. So Liberia is noted for a number of historic firsts. By the time I took that line of argument, the whole hall, people started clapping. Everybody clapping. You know, even in my private conversation as a diplomat, I always talk good about the country and, you know, talk good about the president. I'm not going to take my personal disagreement, you know, and explain it to my counterpart. You know, it's undiplomatic. I'm not going to do it. That's why I'm telling the Liberian government, do not take our personal national disagreement and bring it on an international stage. Because when the foreign minister go and broadcast that Liberia diplomatic agent in London will not carry ordinary passport, it's not me that you honor money. You are honor money Liberia. How can a diplomatic agent in a foreign land carry ordinary passport? It's not wise. It's not wise. It's just not tenable, right? It's untenable. You can't do it. All right? It's not part of diplomatic precedent and etiquette. Where have you read in the Vienna Convention that a head of mission to a foreign country like me, a head of mission to the IMO, will carry ordinary passport? It is not part of the diplomatic etiquette. No. So, you know, I will tell my brother, I will remain calm. I will do nothing to tarnish the image of Liberia. I love my country passionately. And should the court decide otherwise, I will go to Liberia. My children are Liberian. I'm from Grand Bassa. I love Buchanan. I will go to Buchanan. Jepia, I will go Buchanan. I love my country, brother. I love Liberia. The weather in London is not very much compatible with ours. When the coast comes here, brother, it's not easy. I want to go and bask in the sun. You know, I love Liberia, really. I can tell anybody.
Are you still getting your salary and benefits, though?
My friend, I don't want us to, confuse it.
This is the first concern. Are you getting paid?
My friend, let me say to you, right?
Are you getting paid, Mr. Jackson?
I will not. But you know what I don't want to do, as well, is to basically give distorting information on this matter. No, I want to stay focused. No, I want to stay focused.
I understand.
I don't want to make an issue about my salary. The Liberian government already got issues. We ain't got money here, we ain't got money there. I don't want to come on public radio as a diplomat and start crying for money. Whether the government pays me or the government doesn't pay me, I will continue to do my work.
No, I mean it's part of your benefit. Or just asking, the fact that you feel that this.
My friend. The other narrative, the government get money problem, right? The other narrative that the government is supposed to do, give me diplomatic power for the government finding how to do. Then we're going, brother. I don't want to get into all money. So the conversation will not be, because by the time you talk money, the conversation will be overtaken by money. I don't want to put the money issue first. On the next show, I will come and we'll discuss the money part. What I want to discuss are my rights. The passport is a right. So, I mean, my friend, imagine passport that the government can face within 3 days. It's taking the government 2 years plus to face. I mean, this should be embarrassing. President Weah used to play for the Lone Star. He was captain for the Lone Star. Many days he didn't get paid. He still played for the Lone Star because he loved his profession. He loved his career. So he did that. Like me, whether I get paid, I don't get paid, I love my work. I relish my role as Liberia representative. I will continue to represent Liberia. All right? Pay, no pay, I will commit myself to doing the work. I don't want to make my conversation in the public about, for me to come across like I'm crying, they don't want to pay me a gentleman. No, they don't want to give me my passport. It is critical. I want to work. Give me my passport. You got money to pay me, give me the passport. I want to represent Liberia. That is my passion. All right? So that way I will stay. I will stay for the matter. So the other caller who said, and that's the last caller, right? The last question. Said, right. Mr. Jackson, you were deputy information minister, and you defended wrong thing, even though I ain't sympathy with you. But how do you reconcile what the government do? Listen, as deputy information minister, it was my role to explain the policies of the government and to counter negative propaganda against the government. I played that role very well, for which I was elevated. All right? Now, when the CDC government took over, they said we will do better. Now, if the government committed to doing better and they are doing the reverse, I think that's where we should focus. The view mirror on a car is good, right? But you cannot be driving the car and continue to look in the view mirror. You got to be looking ahead.
Go nowhere.
Whatever I defended yesterday, if it was bad, a CDC considered a bad, we should make sure that CDC doesn't repeat that bad. All right? That is where we should be focusing. That's why I said to you, some of the senior officials of the government now and myself were friends in University of Liberia. We were even in the same student political party. We all were united chorus condemned Chancellor government for refusing to renew Charles Bronski's passport. We did that yesterday. Today, their government trying to deny me of my own passport. Why are they not saying that this is wrong? We condemned it yesterday. Why are they trying to repeat the past wrong? It's not good for our country. We should not be repeating past wrong. We should be improving upon whatever good thing the other regime did and move forward. That's why you even have the statute law saying, look, we introduce tenure. Because if we do not introduce tenure in the Maritime Act, every new government account will want change people, and the international community will not be comfortable with the maritime program. And the maritime program is the lifeblood of the economy. Maritime bring more money to the economy. So we will make sure the maritime program is being divorced of politics. That's why they introduce, that is the efficacy of the tenure, to preserve consistency, to maintain continuity, and to prevent the program from serving as a revolving door. This is what we should be doing. That is what the law says. Let's respect it. We will not infuse political consideration in an international program that is supposed to be serviceable to Liberia, that is supposed to make Liberia shine. This is my plea to the government. This is my plea. So, my friend, thank you for sharing my pain. But the issue about looking in the view mirror every time I thought, oh, you defended wrong yesterday. What wrong, brother? What wrong? I mean, I spoke for the government. I said what I believe to have been true then. And I maintain those things that I explained to the people. Right now, what the people are doing, we all see it. They can't even defend it. They even giving contradicting testimony. The former Attorney General, and I'm Attorney General, but the former Solicitor General, Daku Moba, he goes to court and say, I'm ambassador. Finlay come today, he said, no, I'm not ambassador. You see how the government contradicting itself? Because the former Solicitor General, he said, I'm ambassador because he wanted the court to already deny my petition on grounds that if I'm ambassador, then the president can withdraw me immediately. So he was trying to use Article 54. He said, oh, the man ambassador, Article 54 will carry him. If the president can pull him back. Then I have to argue in court through my lawyer. I said, look, I am not an ambassador de jure. I am a quasi-ambassador, but I am an ambassador. I am a diplomatic agent. So there's a distinction here. An ambassador de jure is an ambassador who presents letter of credence to the head of government. It is an ambassador who go for confirmation hearing. It is an ambassador who report to the foreign minister. I don't report to foreign ministry. So that was my argument to the Supreme Court. I explained to the Supreme Court that my role at the IMO is a technical role. I am a diplomatic agent. You understand it? So you can see that the government ain't got argument. So they're contradicting themselves. One person say, oh, ambassador. The other person say, no, you're not ambassador. They're contradicting. So every time you see contradiction, you know something not truthful. You understand it? So let me tell my colleague, I will remain to be very respectful of the government. I will remain to be respectful of the president because I am a diplomatic figure. I do not want to come to the public and be explaining things. I don't find it comfortable to do it. I only have to come to the microphone now because of the statement the Honorable Foreign Minister made. And I think that statement has a potential to make Liberia a laughing stock because the international community, I respect the members of the international communities, are respectful of the Vienna Convention. Let me tell you how the Vienna Convention is even important. Article 8.2 of the Vienna Convention. If a member state were to violate it, the other member state will correct the other member state. For example, if Liberia were to send as ambassador of, say, a British person, say Liberia want to send representation to Great Britain, right? And takes a natural law British person and say, we're sending that man to London to be our representative. The British government has the right to reject that nomination. Under the Vienna Convention, it's Article 8.2 of the Vienna Convention. You cannot send a natural law citizen of a country as your representation. The Vienna Convention is clear. So, but if you violate that kind of regulation, the member state will correct you quickly. In the instant case, the member state will not say anything, the receiving party will not say anything, but they will just be laughing. They say, oh, but what Liberia doing? How they treat their diplomatic agent like this? When the Vienna Convention say you should do nothing to impair the dignity of a diplomatic agent. That's what the Vienna Convention say. Do nothing to impair. Don't ask the man question. Don't check his bag he carry. Don't carry security man to his house. Security man should not ask him question. If he shows a diplomatic badge, nobody will touch him. Before you touch him, you must go ask a country for permission. That's what it is.
The diplomat.
So look at how Liberia doing. Look at how Liberia doing. Oh yes, we enjoy all these privileges, brother. In accordance with the rule. Yeah.
The point of Ashford Jackson, my man, don't be a stranger, man. See this as your home, and we'll look forward to seeing you some other time. Okay. Thank you so much for taking up time, my brother.
Oh, thank you. As for the Ashford Garley, it's been a long time, man. Thank you for connecting with you.
Yes, sir.
And let me say good night to the colleagues on the other side. Good night to everyone. Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. Well, folks, I'm afraid that's all the time we have to be with you tonight. And let me see if we can reconnect with Lighty Brooks Roberts for her pardon comment. Lighty, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Mr. Garley. How are you?
Good. Again, want to say that a happy belated birthday to your son. I know he celebrated in grand style yesterday. And hey, we're out of town. Just your pardon comment. We call this a night.
Yes, no, we want to say thank you to our guests for the evening, Dr. Keter and Mr. Diplomat Jackson. And of course, to our viewing audience and our participants, thank you for your time and your effort, and you're always coming to participate. In closing, we would like to say, or I would like to say, by Aristotle, he says, "He who has never learned to obey cannot be a good commander." Those are my closing statement, or that is my closing statement. Thank you for your time. Letitia, signing off.
Thank you, Leti. And tomorrow we're going to play host to the chairman of ANC Global, Mr. Wilfred Postlethwaite. We'll also play host to Senator Sad Joseph. He will be in our British Radio Africa studio tomorrow night. Then on Thursday, we go on a little bit of entertainment side where the great Quincy T.Y. Julie will be in our studio on Thursday as we climax the week. Until then, folks, please allow me to borrow the wordings of the wise man. Tough times don't last, tough people do. The height of a man is never known until he rises, and there's no second chance to make that first impression. Don't see okra and swallow bone, because you can't hide your nakedness from beef and bucket. When God bless you, don't see that medicine. When white men know your friend black man. This has been yours truly, the golden voice of Liberia, the medicine of the microphone. Just to buy your game, Zebon Plora, and I just call me or G. Would it no muzo, and one year mad the to dry? Are you at the wapo? Nabono Juru Tradi. As for the giant, that now you know me, Garley. Have a good night.